week 9 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers. I have his sleepers this week. The first receiver, Elijah Moore of the Cleveland Browns. Right now, he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues at 89%. And Moore, we saw upside from him a few years ago with the New York Jets and Mike White. Then got traded to the Cleveland Browns last season. We haven't seen much, but the last 2 games since Jameis Winston has been the quarterback. Week 7 versus Cincinnati, 6 catches, 41 yards. And then week 8 versus Baltimore, nice ball game. 8 catches, 85 yards on 12 targets. So this week on paper, I know it's a bad matchup. Chargers give up the least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. But Elijah Moore, he was an early round pick from the Jets a few years ago. And he's played with bad quarterbacks throughout his NFL career. But now at least with a quarterback who has capabilities of getting the football down the field and has a big arm, I think it's going to help Elijah Moore. And if he has another big week this week here, he's definitely a wide receiver that's going to be owned in about 50% of leagues. So this week, I know it's a tough matchup, but still a wideout I have as a sleeper. Next wide receiver, Parker Washington of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Christian Kirk out for the season, broken collarbone. Parker Washington's going to play extended snaps. Brian Thomas not 100%. He's banged up, but I expect him to play in this week's ball game. And Washington, the last 2 weeks, he's actually put up serviceable numbers. Week 7 versus New England, a return touchdown. And then last week versus the Packers, coming in relief after Christian Kirk got hurt. 3 catches, 46 yards on 4 targets. So we saw a couple seasons ago, Parker Washington went out there and he actually put up some decent stats. He's a slot wide receiver. He's got speed and he can run some decent routes. And right now he's out there in 97% of fantasy leagues. And this week it's a pretty decent matchup at the Philadelphia Eagles that give up the 11th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the year. And this could be a ball game where it's a lot of garbage time, where Jacksonville is just trying to play catch up in the second half. And the final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week, Jalen Coker of the Carolina Panthers. Right now, they're going with the youth movement. Deontay Johnson, they traded him away to the Baltimore Ravens. We saw Adam Thielen, he's banged up. They're not going to rush him back into the lineup. And Coker's out there in 98% of fantasy leagues. And 2 out of 4 games now, he's had double-digit fantasy points. Week 5 at the Bears, 4 catches, 68 yards. Week 6 versus Atlanta, 3 catches, 30 yards. Week 7 at Washington, a catch, 10 yards. And Week 8, his biggest game of the year, 4 catches, 78 yards and a touchdown. So a big target is Coker. I know in garbage time he found the end zone last week at the Denver Broncos. But now with Deontay Johnson gone in the deal, like I mentioned, it's Xavier Legette, Chandler Coker, Thielen when he returns, and Jonathan Mingo as the main wide receivers for this Carolina Panther team. So Coker, a young player, and I think they're going to see what he has right now and give him an extended look. So right now, if you need a deep sleeper, like I said, Coker's out there pretty much in every fantasy league. So that's a few wide receivers I have his sleepers for week 9 of the fantasy football season.